Why hello there friends, welcome to a bookish and cozy and festive beginning of December, beginning of Advent vlog. I thought it'd be fun to share some of the decorations I've been putting up and some of my Advent reading. I have here the Blessed is She Advent Journal, which I mentioned I ended up picking up. I've done their Lenten journal, but this is the first time I've tried the Advent journal. It's called Peace Has a Name, and it just has lots of lovely reflections and Bible readings and Lectio Divina, spaces for you to write out your thoughts and stories from their staff writers. At the very beginning, I thought it was so neat to see Father Jacques Philippe mentioned, because I read earlier this year Finding and Maintaining Inner Peace by Father Jacques Philippe, and so it was fun. He is was an inspiration for the writers, and every Sunday I think there's kind of a list of his ways of finding inner peace that you can kind of go through and just try to instantiate in your own life. It's faith, pray, sacraments, mass, and scripture. That's the quick list of Father Jacques Philippe. This has just been a nice way to start the Advent season. I kind of like how there are some empty pages with just like pretty designs. I've been thinking I might use one of these as a backdrop to just kind of write in one of my favorite Advent prayers. It's actually part of something called the St. Andrew, I believe it's St. Andrew Christmas Novena, and the prayer goes, "Hail and blessed be the hour and the moment at which the Son of God was born, of the most pure Virgin Mary, at midnight in Bethlehem in piercing cold. In that hour vouchsafe, O my God, to hear my prayers and grant my desires through the merits of our Savior, Jesus Christ and his blessed Mother. Amen." And the idea is you say that prayer 15 times every day, every evening. It's always been a fun tradition in my family. When we were little, we would light an Advent candle and say it all together. So I'm doing that this Advent, and I also, of course, have my journal. And we're also doing a read-along of The Man Born to Be King, which is a play cycle about the life of Christ by Dorothy Sayers. It was broadcast on the BBC during World War II. One of you guys mentioned in the comments, and I had this thought too, that it's kind of like the 1940s equivalent of The Chosen. The Chosen is an absolutely excellent series, TV series that you can watch for free online. I'll link it in the description below. It is so good, and it like tells the story of Christ in a way that, using a modern medium, in a way that appeals to a modern audience, but that is still authentic to Christ. And it feels like The Man Born to Be King is just like that, because the radio play was, of course, a very popular format of entertainment in that time period. I'm listening to the BBC recording of it. I think the recording, it's the one that is on the Google Books, Apple Books store. I think it was originally recorded in the 1970s. I don't think the original version that was broadcast during World War II is public. I don't think you can find it, although maybe if you dug on YouTube. But I did actually cave, and I ordered a physical copy of it too that has Dorothy Sayers' notes, because I think those will be really interesting to read. But I'm continuing to listen to it in the meantime. It's very appropriate leading up to the celebration of Christmas. I've been getting out all of my decorations and everything, but I've been thinking how it's all cozy and pretty, but the meaning of the season is really Christ. And if Christ isn't there deep down at the center of it, then all the rest of it is just dust and ashes. Today is December 1st, and I do have an Advent calendar, which I haven't broken out yet. So now that we've finished our Advent journal, maybe we'll do that. So first of all, to find the Advent calendars, we should clear off this little forest of trees I've got going on my table. I have some trees set up over there, and this beautiful tree right here, but I love Christmas trees in all different styles. We have the sparkly, we have the homemade knitted, we have the fluffy, we have the rustic, we have the snow covered, all our Christmas styles covered. I put my Disney princess pins onto this sparkly tree as sort of ornaments, which I just thought that looked really, really cute. And these I actually knitted myself a couple years ago. They're just styrofoam underneath, and then I bought the yarns and knitted them. It was a pattern I found on webs. I think that I'm gonna put these guys, the sparkly and the knitted, I think I will take upstairs and leave the fluffy here. So let me take care of that. Okay, so now we can actually see the adorable tablecloth. Well, it's a tablecloth in progress because I went to the fabric store. I couldn't find a ready-made tablecloth that I really liked. I found this one. I have to wash it and put it away from Target for my kind of fall, Halloween through Thanksgiving tablecloth. But I really wanted a cute Christmas print, and there were lots of cute Christmas prints. Christmas fabric is so dangerous. But this one, when I spotted it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Just look at the tea things, the cookies, the gingerbread houses. I kind of want to make some gingerbread houses now. And the candy cane dishes, just so cute. It is not the right shape. I think I'm going to have to cut it up, and I'm going to try to make it a perfect square, which obviously it will be a little bit patched at that point, but I don't think you'll really notice, and then it'll fall better than it does now. When I was at the fabric store, I brought my quilt top along to look for a bottom for it. I asked the quilt, what do you want as your alter ego, as the other side? And this is the one that kind of spoke to me, and the quilt top. It like doesn't exactly match, but I think it tones in a like pretty and unexpected way. So that is that. This is not Christmas fabric, but I couldn't resist it. Look at how pretty, these sort of watercolor cats. So I'm going to make this into a pillow cover at some point. And these are actually Christmas fabrics that I've bought in the past. And this year, I'm finally going to do something with them. I'm determined. I've always hesitated to make anything with them because, I don't know, I like them so much. And once you make something with it, you know, the die has been cast. But what I am going to do with this one is make a pillow cover. And I bought some tassels, so I'm going to put tassels at all the ends of the pillow cover. Don't these kind of look like Spritz cookies? We were just talking about Spritz cookies in my Discord group, and my family has always loved Spritz cookies. So yeah, we'll see how many pillowcases I do. I could do this as a pillowcase too, but this is quite a big piece of fabric, so I can never decide what to actually make with them. I do have 2 pillows already. That's a cute pillow. And that's a cute pillow. There were some cute new pillows at Target, but I thought to myself, you don't need another pillow. You can easily make a pillowcase for some other pillows that you have. Now we come to the star attraction. So here we have the usual, the traditional, have to have this every year, the Bon Maman Advent Calendar 2022 edition. My mom emailed me back in like September. She's on some kind of email list for a website that sells this Advent calendar, and so they email her when it comes in stock, and it does sell out. So if you want to make sure you get one, probably best to get on the email notification list and just buy it early. I just get so much pleasure out of using this. The jams are such delicious and unique flavors. Here, let's see. What have we got this year? Apple with caramel and cinnamon, apricot with bergamot, grapefruit and dragon fruit. That's one of my favorites. Some of these sound new. Chestnut and orange with spice spread, mango, raspberry, and lime. Pear with cocoa nibs. I don't remember that. Pineapple and yuzu. That sounds familiar. But it's just so much fun, and I usually end up baking with the jams, and it's just an absolute delight. So let's see. What does it look like this year? It's very posh. Look at that reindeer. So snobby. Oh my gosh, and the elephant too. That's so funny. There's a little hot air balloon. Giraffe is wearing a scarf. That's so cute. All right. So where's number 1? We have rhubarb strawberry, a classic. I'll have to make Linzer tarts again this year. That was how I used up the rest of the jams in January, and it was absolutely lovely. But I also wanted to show you guys, I don't think this is technically an advent calendar, but it is Santa's Magical Light Up Chocolate Workshop. Do you see where it's from? Marks and Spencer, but it's Target. Target was carrying it this year, and it is a magical workshop with elves and a light up sort of thing. Isn't this like coloring? And that scene is just so beautiful. All right, let's see. All right, let's see what we've got. at that. Oh my gosh. I hear the sleigh bells. That's so cute. Look at the little elves. Oh, and like a whole little sort of train set on the floor there. Since this little gingerbread man was trying to escape, maybe we should just eat him. But this will be such a beautiful display piece. As is the Jam Advent Calendar. So excited to have these this Advent. Oh wow, look, it has caramel inside. Yum. It looks like I already have a ton of presents underneath my tree, but these are actually just the bags and boxes from the decorations. And I did get a new decoration, which I haven't quite decided where to put it. Look at these. Aren't they lovely? So my thought, and now I'm having second thoughts, but we'll see. I was thinking they would look really pretty kind of draped like that. Although now I'm thinking they're sort of snowy. They're not necessarily only for Christmas. So I could do them later because I also was thinking of doing a little swag on every shelf. I have to go and get some more swag. I have to go buy some more swag. I don't quite have enough of it to fill in all of the little shelves of my bookshelves. Yes, and then we have our December calendar girl. She's an ice type Pokemon trainer, and her Alolan Vulpix is here. And yeah, I put some garlands there. And then I've got my lights going all the way around the room. Luckily, I put up the hooks for them last year, so it was super easy to get them up this year. And then in here, I didn't do this last year. This is kind of new. I put my Starbucks cups collection. I feel like this makes it look like I'm a way bigger Starbucks fan than I am. I'm not like a huge Starbucks person, but I have always loved the cups over the years. And for me, when I look at these, I feel like it's not about the brand, it's about my memories. You know, the Starbucks cup that I picked up when we were dashing through the airport, or one that I bought way back in college at my campus Starbucks, and I've been holding on to them for years, so it's really fun to look back. I've got a couple. Apostrophe and Butler's Chocolate Cafe are both British, Irish brands that have some of the best hot chocolate in the world. So I had to save those cups, and I have a couple Caribous up there as well. I'm trying to decide if I should dig up some lids for them or just leave them as they are. They look cute as they are. We'll see. I've got my wreath up in the window and my red curtains out, and this is a little countdown. 25 adorable houses and trees, and Santa is waiting for us up there on the 24th. It was really fun to get out all of my ornaments that I've collected over the years, and the newest addition to the tree is this one right here. How perfect is this? I Married Adventure by Osa Johnson. I love this book. I love the connection to the Animal Kingdom Lodge. I love Martin and Osa's incredible pioneering spirit. I love the Martin and Osa Safari Museum in Chinook, Kansas. It was actually the Safari Museum that was kind enough to send this to me. It's on Etsy. If it's still in stock on that Etsy listing, I'll try to link it in the description. But they're stocking it in the museum gift store. The director and the Safari Museum team sent me this, so I'm gonna have to send them a little Christmas card back. It looks so absolutely perfect on the tree. I did a little rearranging of my shelves. Can you tell? Is it that different? I decided to create a little rare books shelf. These are all of my used and rare books, inspired by Athos. Athos's beautiful shelf of rare books. I'll give you all a full tour of it at some other date. But yes, here's I Married Adventure, just like the ornament. The book I wanted to mention, though, was one of these. Oops. There went Shakespeare. Was it in this one or was it in the other one? Yeah, it's in this one. This is a cute little pocket edition of Washington Irving, and I was just paging through it when I was rearranging the bookshelf and noticed that there was one section on Christmas. Of all the old festivals, that of Christmas awakens the strongest and most heartfelt associations. There is a tone of solemn and sacred feeling that blends with our conviviality and lifts the spirit to a state of hallowed and elevated enjoyment. The services of the church about this season are extremely tender and inspiring. They dwell on the beautiful story of the origin of our faith and the pastoral scenes that accompanied its announcement. They gradually increase in fervor and pathos during the season of Advent until they break forth in full jubilee on the morning that brought peace and goodwill to men. It is a beautiful arrangement also, derived from days of yore, that this festival, which commemorates the announcement of the religion of peace and love, has been made the season for gathering together of family connections, and drawing closer again those band of kindred hearts, which the cares and pleasures and sorrows of the world are continually operating to cast loose, of calling back the children of a family who have launched forth in life and wandered widely asunder, once more to assemble about the paternal hearth, that rallying place of the affections, there to grow young and loving again among the endearing mementos of childhood. Okay, last quotation, I promise, but I really liked this from the first page. The idea that England, the holiday customs of England, recall the pictures my fancy used to draw in the May morning of life, when as yet I only knew the world through books and believed it to be all that poets had painted it. And they bring with them the flavor of those honest days of yore, in which, perhaps, with equal fallacy, I am apt to think the world was more homebred, social, and joyous than at present. I just posted my November reading blog last week, so I feel like I don't have a ton of books to catch you up on, but one of the books that is on my list of things I would love to finish before the end of the year is the last in the trilogy by C.S. Lewis, That Hideous Strength. The first is Out of the Silent Planet. The second is Paralandra. This is his space science fiction trilogy that I've really been enjoying. I have found myself getting through this surprisingly quickly. The first two are more about the scenario. It's more about a really striking setting and kind of the metaphysical, philosophical, spiritual truths that manifest themselves in that setting. So it doesn't necessarily feel like there's a lot of action or plot per se, but this has been quite a lot of action. It gives me, especially at the beginning, it gave me a lot of sort of Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged vibes. The world seems to be in a pretty crazy mess. People seem to have abandoned common sense left and right. There was one quotation that sounded like it was describing today's world. There's this evil organization ironically called the NICE, N-I-C-E. I don't even know what the acronym stands for, but they're basically pulling the strings behind everything. And this is what one of the NICE executives says: "Isn't it absolutely essential to keep a fierce left and a fierce right both on their toes and each terrified of the other? That's how we get things done. Any opposition to the NICE is represented as a left racket in the right papers and a right racket in the left papers." "I don't believe you can do that," said Mark. "Not with the papers that are read by educated people." "Why, you fool, it's the educated reader who can be gulled. All our difficulty comes with the others. When did you meet a workman who believes the papers? He takes it for granted that they're all propaganda and skips the leading articles. He is our problem. We have to recondition him. But the educated public, the people who read the highbrow weeklies, don't need reconditioning. They're all right already. They'll believe anything." So you're definitely kept on your toes, wondering what exactly the NICE are up to. In some ways, I liked that it has more plot and more action than the other two. But like I mentioned, the other two definitely have their flaws and are a little bit off the rails at times. And I feel like this one too, in some ways, goes a little off the rails. Somewhere I read or heard that Lewis put all of his Oxford friends in here, and in fact it does take place at basically a fictional Oxford. It's a beautiful old British town, beautiful university with tons of history, but the progressive elements don't really have any regard or any reverence for the tradition and the history. And they're eager to get the NICE to come to town and dig up the beautiful Bragdon Wood. The description of that in the beginning was so lovely. But it was funny that I heard that Lewis is writing about his Oxford friends because a lot of the academic people are in the NICE and they're kind of the enemies. So I don't know if friends is the right word. Although at one point there is a mention of Numenor, which is from Lord of the Rings. I have to research this further to figure out, like, did he mean like Tolkien's Numenor? Is this trilogy supposed to be like the sort of sequel to Lord of the Rings set in modern times? Because that would be pretty awesome. The Arthurian legend also kind of comes into play, which is making me feel like I need to go read Le Morte d'Arthur, or one of the original Arthurian legends. I feel like the description I'm giving of this so far is so different from the description of the first two books that you might think that the first two books don't have a bearing on this, but they very much do. Our old friends are here, and we see them again. I mentioned Atlas Shrugged earlier, and in some ways this does give me those same vibes of, everything is awry and the reasonable people seem to have all disappeared. But the big thing in Atlas Shrugged that failed for me was that in this struggle, to just boil it down and put it simply, of good versus evil, the good guys didn't have like a solid foundation, like a solid ground that they were operating out of. In Atlas Shrugged. And Ayn Rand certainly would not say it was religion. She was very much against religion. But C.S. Lewis, of course, was a Christian. So it is satisfying once we meet the good guys. They are under the protection of male dill. There was one other passage I thought I'd read. This isn't super spoilery, but it is. You can see it's towards the end of the book, so there's your warning. But basically, there are two main characters, Mark and Jane. They're married, and they each kind of get drawn into the opposite camps, one into the nice and one into the good guy camp, which is led, since I can tell you now, since I already gave the spoiler warning, by Ransom. But it's not like Jane is totally good and Mark is totally evil. They're very modern. They've lived their lives in a sort of thoughtless way up to this point. And they're both kind of coming into contact with these hard realities and having to grapple with them. And the most thought-provoking, interesting scenes for me are when they both are confronted with death. And Jane, who has heard about the Eldils and male dill is Christ, from Ransom and from his camp, the Eldils are kind of like angels, for lack of a better word. They're a lot more sophisticated than that. Actually, okay, when I mentioned Numenor was in this, I know the name of them. Silmaril, in the Silmarillion, the creatures that are above all mortal creatures, above elves, Valar, that was the name. I almost wonder, could you make a case that the Eldil and the Valar are like the same kind of types of creatures? I don't know to what extent Lewis actually had Lord of the Rings in mind when he wrote this. But anyway, this is what Jane has to say about Maeldill and the Eldil when she is confronted with death. Up till now, she had not thought of Maeldill. She did not doubt that the Eldils existed, nor did she doubt the existence of this stronger and more obscure being whom they obeyed, whom the director, Ransom, obeyed, and through him the whole household. If it had ever occurred to her to question whether all these things might be the reality behind what she had been taught at school as religion, she had put the thought aside. The distance between these alarming and operative realities and the memory, say, of fat Mrs. Dimble saying her prayers was too wide. The things belonged for her to different worlds. On the one hand, terror of dreams, rapture of obedience, the great struggle against an imminent danger. On the other, the smell of pews, horrible lithographs of the Savior, apparently 7 feet high, with the face of a consumptive girl, the embarrassment of confirmation classes, the nervous affability of clergymen. But this time, if it was really to be death, the thought would not be put aside, because really it now appeared that almost anything might be true. The world had already turned out to be so very unlike what she had expected. The old ring fence had been smashed completely. One might be in for anything. Maeldill might be, quite simply and crudely, God. There might be a life after death, a heaven, a hell. The thought glowed in her mind for a second like a spark that has fallen on shavings. And then a second later, like those shavings, her whole mind was in blaze, and with just enough left outside the blaze to utter some kind of protest. But this is unbearable. I ought to have been told. I just thought that was such an interesting thought process, because most people don't look at religion as related to the alarming and operative realities. They look at it as just something that's easy to brush aside, that has nothing to do with everyday life. And in fact, it has everything to do with everyday life. It's the breath and the beating heart underneath everyday life. And the fact that you have the nervous affability of clergymen, the sometimes devastating disappointments of modern churches, that doesn't change the reality of God underneath those things, and the reality of his call to you. Anyway, I've really loved this trilogy. Like I said, it's not perfect. This one has had some kind of disturbing scenes in it, but overall, there's just so much richness in these, and I'm so glad that I have been reading them this year. My battery is almost dead, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed this Bookish December vlog. I'd love to hear how your Advent has been going so far. Here's hoping your days are filled with many Advent blessings. Next week is the second Friday of the month, which is when I'm doing my Disney World vlog episodes, so it'll be a Disney vlog next week, and then I might do another kind of reading vlog like this. This is kind of my goal for the new year, is to do more weekly rather than monthly reading vlogs. Not necessarily every week. A week here, a week there, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Until then, stay bookish. Bye.